Returning my attention now to the chassis, I went ahead and removed the original Philco electrolytic 3-suction cap. I used 3 individual electrolytics, high quality Nichicon caps, and they are just tacked in. This is not meant to be a permanent replacement. I just want to see if I can power up the radio and get some life out of it. Also tacked in a new power cord, and I'm plugging it into a Suncor PR57, which has a fuse and a circuit breaker built in case anything goes awry. Now normally I wouldn't do this. I would just go ahead and recap the whole radio. I know these paper caps are bad. I mean, you can see how bubbly and cruddy they are, but to make things more interesting for the viewers, let's see what it can do on the old parts. I also clipped out that cap that was across the AC line, because those are prone to pop, and I don't want this going off in my face. Because once paper caps go bad, maybe they bubble, maybe they smolder a little bit. These will pop, and I don't want some shards of Bakelite flying around, so that's out. Now, if you recall, the control is a bit jammed. It's not rotating with this, so I've already gone ahead and turned it to the on position and turned the volume up a little bit. I've also got a voltmeter clipped across B+, so we can see what we get with that. Now, remember, this does not have a way to freely tune it. You can only do the presets, and I'm not sure what it's preset to, but it might not be valid for my broadcast area, so even if everything is working great, we still might not hear something, but hey, let's give it a try. So plugging it in now. Turning PR57 on now. Pilot light has lit up. Tube starting to conduct. Rectifier tube coming online. We've got B+ climbing. Huh. And we are getting something. How about that? Try different presets.
And so my father, he was also in the special effects.
That is pretty amazing. So the volume control is functional. That's cool. And yeah, it is working with those old bubbly, nasty looking paper caps. I have a feeling this would be a simple electrical restoration. It's gonna be a lot of work cosmetically, but not so much electrically, I think. Well, of course I will adjust these presets to stations in my area. Oh, cool.
You are caught in a web of nightmare, struggling to free yourself from sleep, while constantly, threateningly, your destruction draws closer, and you know unless you awake, the ultimate conclusion is death.
This must be WGN. They do old-time radio broadcasts on Saturday nights.
We escape to 2200 AD and the fearsome picture of the last days of civilization
as H.G. Wells told it in his terrifying story, Dream of Armageddon.
Sweet. So, yeah, that is a very awesome first power-up. From here, well, certainly got to do a better job securing these electrolytics. Got to install the line cord a lot better. I bypassed the strain relief. That's got to get tacked in properly. You want to put a fuse in there, and of course replace the paper caps and put a good AC line bypass cap in there. That B plus seemed a little low to me than I realized. I didn't have my PR57 turned up all the way. I was only running this thing on like 100 volts. Now I got up to 117. That seems more reasonable for an All-American 5 with half-wave rectifier off the AC line. So yeah, it is pretty cool that it's working. And I have seen radios like this sold on eBay as restored, meaning that they replace the electrolytic and nothing else. But I assure you these caps are leaky. I will test one or two to prove that. And I do not recommend running a radio for any length of time with these old paper caps.
When really, you should be loading up your bullpen and spending all your money.
And I also would not be surprised if they were dragging down the B plus a little bit. So what happens is the paper deteriorates, moisture accelerates the process, and they start conducting current. In an ideal capacitor, it's two metal plates with infinite resistance between them, but that paper wax, it's organic, it'll start breaking down, and you start getting resistance, and it'll drop lower and lower over time, and that also leads to heat, which is why they start looking bubbly like that. And I have seen them char, I have seen the ends blow out. So I'll let this keep running for a little while, and then feel these, see if any are getting warm, and then test one of them. I left it running for about 5 minutes, and can't honestly say I feel any real warmth coming out of these. But let's see what the meter has to say. So this is a 0.05 microfarad, should be good, up to 200 volts. Let's see about that. Hey, look at that, it's leaky at only 100. 200, extremely leaky. I did look up the voltage chart here. 117 volts DC is what I should have at the point I was testing. It's just about what I do have. Well, that was kind of interesting. Let's see if I can actually measure any capacitance on this guy. Doesn't look... yeah, so that's what happens when you get a leaky cap and I try to test it. The eyes should be going wide open when I hit the value. This just barely flutters because it's so leaky you can't even test it properly. So it's acting more like a resistor and a capacitor at this point. Yet the radio works. Funny. You know, you can have weak tubes, leaky caps, out of tolerance resistors, and these things will still perform. Especially if it's a good design, meant to handle a wide range of operating conditions. However, I gotta believe that if I put in a good cap, it's going to perform even better. I've still got some work to do on the recap. Meanwhile, the cabinet is coming along nicely. I think one more layer of JB Weld in this corner will be filled in enough I can start filing it down. As for the bottom, I've been slowly building up damaged, chipped edges. Here's that one corner where it had been broken out and re-glued, or rather had been broken out and glued, and then I re-glued it. I know it looks terrible now, but after some filing and sanding and priming and painting, this will look real nice. Now, I looked up this model again online to find out what info I could, and apparently it only came in two colors originally. This color, the off-white, and sort of a pale green. Not sure I can paint any color I like, but I do sort of like that funky pale green, so see if I can find something close to that. Now, unfortunately, when I strip this, sand it down, these original labels are going to get ruined. Not that they're in the greatest shape now. And notice that all the station presets are not created equal. So the values of the inductors and capacitors they use for each of these selectors must have a limited tuning range, so they broke it up into segments. Now, there are examples of this online. One of them, I believe, is new in box, and there are some photos, so I think I'll be able to find some and print out new labels and put them on the bottom. Now, as for the roller mechanism, I popped out the C-clip and loosened up this pot, and I was able to get this roller off. There's really not much to it. The pot shaft actually just extends all the way across and just fits in a hole in the chassis, and that's it. There's not even a bushing on there or anything. Just have a little felt pad and a washer. And on the other side, that clip, and that's all that held this in. Unfortunately, I don't see any mechanism that keeps this bound tight to this shaft. Well, actually, no, I take that back. I didn't last night, but now I do. Knurled shaft at one end. And yeah, I can see it was knurled at this end, but I now know what's rattling around inside. So I noticed this and I couldn't figure out what the heck was rattling. But now that I have more light, it's part of the interior plastic that has grooves in it that correspond to the knurlings on the shaft, and a chunk of it broke off. So there's absolutely no way to get this open. It's one single molded piece as near as I can make out. Perhaps this was a separate piece and it was glued in. Maybe that too. I thought this was all one piece, but I guess that would have been pretty darn hard to manufacture, something like that. But it seems unlikely I'll be able to get this out without damaging anything. So what I can simply do is slop on some glue or JB Weld and push this on and secure it. But I'd really like to get that piece out of this thing. It's going to rattle a bit in operation. Well, I will see if I can get that out. And you know, I wonder, so you see this end is larger diameter and this end is smaller? I wonder if that interior is one separate piece and you could push it from this end and it would pop out at this end. But who knows, if it is separate, they might have even like heat bonded this together. It might be very difficult to get apart. Otherwise, I guess if I get some glue in there and rattle this around to that broken piece that touches the glue, it might set up and hold it in place. And then I will be stripping this down and repainting it. Curious if it looks like there's corrosion on there. I wonder if this metallic coating is actually got some real metal in it and it's not just paint. finished with the recap. Rather than restuff the original 3-section electrolytic, I mounted 3 individual capacitors over in this area, and I made sure to have all the negatives go to this point to form sort of a star ground to reduce any possibility of there being a ground loop. And hiding under here, this ceramic looking cap, that is one rated for use across the AC line. And then there's this guy. That's a standard 0.1 microfarad film cap, but I used it in place of this. They show a cap and an inductor. If you look at the parts list, they call that an inductively wound paper cap. Well, there really is no modern equivalent to that. So I just put a regular capacitor in there. That should work out fine. And the resistors, geez, I don't think I replaced any of them. They were all within tolerance. Alright, so let's flip this over, power it up, see how it sounds. Alright, let's plug in. Still have a few things left to do. I want to put a fuse in there. I need to run the power cord through a strain relief. And possibly replace that bulb with something. It's not so straightforward as I thought it might have been, because it's actually...
Season 33 points, 12 rebounds, and 12 assists. Blackhawks lose at Buffalo 5-3, but they're back
actually,
on
it's
the
not
ice
quite what I
tonight
thought.
at home against
I thought this was the
St. Louis.
type of rectifier that has a tap on the filament for a pilot light.
6:30 here on WGN and WGN
That's not the
Radio.com.
case.
Some good news from South Korea.
I'll have to look and see what kind of bulb that is. Anyways, all I'm getting at is I don't think it's as bright as it could be. I don't know how
On the home of the Blackhawks, Northwestern Wildcats.
clear it's going to be to see this through the
WGN Sports. WGN
through the little lens in the front of the cabinet. Oh, I also cleaned and lubed up the channel selector mechanism so it works more smoothly. And I fooled around with the presets a little bit.
It is interesting to this point, and
So every time you depress this and release,
Senior senator says he's alarmed by
goes
the
to a
Trump
different
administration.
station.
Personalized traffic on demand. Get the
Clearly, I
traffic
still need to
Chicago
find
app.
some more stations. Now, I was fooling around with that last night, and I'm surprised I'm just getting kind of static on some of these.
skilled and motivated. When he was firing people in every
And the way you adjust these is these little trimmers underneath. And you can actually just do it with your fingers because they have knurled shafts on them. Alright, so this is the one for this. So really that's all there is to it. Now there are also trimmers down here. So I think this sets the local oscillator and this sets the antenna band pass. But anyway, that's going to have the biggest effect because that actually tunes the station in. This might have a minor effect on the gain. I think how it was is actually the best position. I think these are the higher frequency selectors, and there just aren't that many stations in the high end of the AM band around here. And most of them that you're going to find are foreign language, Polish, I think, or Ukrainian. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I'm getting. It's just this. A pretty pronounced effect for this station. Probably just a weak station. The radios also tend to be a bit directional with that loop antenna. Yeah, that's all. Alright, cool. So yeah, I need to dig out the remains of the old power cord and strain relief and run the cord through there, and I'll put a fuse down underneath here, and then that'll be it electrically. So not too much more work to do on that. And yeah, I need to fix this up. So the rattling thing in there. I was thinking maybe I can get that out by taking a thin stick of some sort. It's probably too big to fit in there. That just fits. And get something sticking on the end of it, and get that little piece stuck on the end and pull it out. And then to get this on that shaft securely, probably some more glue or something. So it's supposed to go into this end, and the plastic kind of broke away. Another possibility I was thinking is if I put a sleeve on the outside of this, maybe even just wrap some electrical tape around it, or brass tubing, or even glue, and slid this on. Just something to build up the diameter so this fits snugly on there.